in order for me to serve the way I want to serve in corporate, in my own business, in my organization, in my family, there are things that I need to do to ground myself, to feed my root system so that I can be strong and healthy and clear to show up the best way I can for those who need me and for those I want to be helpful to, that I want to serve. This week on The Rutledge Perspective, let's talk about what you are doing to prioritize your own well-being, your own joy, your own peace of mind as you move through either building your business or building your career, managing your department, whatever the thing is. How are you ensuring that you are on the list? So as we come into this week, it's, end of July. It is end of July, y'all. It's end of July. Summer's over. School is starting. In some places, school is starting like in a couple of weeks. Just time is just flying, right? And time is not renewable. And I had a conversation with my radio show producer last week when I was at the show. As I walked in and was setting up, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm tired for like December. She's like, what do you mean? And I said, I was looking at my calendar and I got all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. And I'm gone all the time and all these things. And she said, but it's your schedule, isn't it? And I had to pause and laugh. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's my schedule. And I said, I don't know how I do this to myself. I don't know how I do this to myself. This is why I need a handler, right? Who can manage my schedule for me. But it made me start thinking about that calendar and what things are on it and all of those things, right? So I'm managing through that last week and like, it's okay, it's going to be fine. Yeah, my August is going to be a nightmare, but it's fine. And then I get through the weekend and get up this morning and start looking at the calendar again. And I thought, I, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this month because it's a lot. It's a lot. And for those of you who've been following me for a while, that not having white space in my calendar, that's one of my triggers. So like you probably have yours if you're in corporate, if you've left corporate. One of my triggers is that when I don't see white space in my calendar, it reminds me of that time when I didn't even have time to go to the bathroom, right? I was back to back all the time. I was traveling 80%. It was just a nightmare. And so I immediately looked at my calendar and said, it is my calendar. What can I start taking off my calendar? Laurel, this is ridiculous, right? You are being done unto by yourself. So stop it. Take control. What are you going to change, right? Because you have the freedom to change all the stuff you want to change. And I started looking at everything and thought, okay, what can I move around? What can I not do? And I realized that the only things I was looking at in terms of redoing, moving, modifying, canceling, right? Moving the commitment, whatever, were personal things. Time with family, time with friends that meant something really and mean a lot to me. Things that were for my own personal development and growth. Some were kind of were business related, but it wasn't doing business. What I wasn't changing or modifying was anything related to client work. Okay, well, that makes sense. Your clients are paying you. If you made a commitment, you need to make sure you do that because, see, you got to be a person of your word. And I mean that. You got to be a person of your word. And why is it okay that everything that relates to the people who matter to you is the stuff that's negotiable? It's the stuff that, well, if I can't do it this time, I'll just do it later. Because here's the reality. Time is not renewable. Time is not renewable. Now, also, if you've been following me, I've talked a lot about the tree, right? The tree that's in my logo and that root system, that thing that grounds you. And probably for the last 3 or 4 weeks, things have just felt kind of off. I mean, I'm doing some shifting in the business for sure, and that creates some of that. But things have just felt kind of off, and I don't know what it was. And then I recognized as I was going through this exercise of looking at my calendar and thinking about all of you and what you might be going through as well in terms of this coming to the end of the year. We're already through July. People's kids are going back to school. All of the things that get us wound up. As I was thinking through all of that, I thought, you know what? I am off kilter because Those things that ground me are off kilter. Faith, family, friends, and health, right? And health for me is the big health, right? Physical, financial, emotional, psychological, all the things. And I know that when I'm feeling way off, that one of those four areas is off. One of them is not working the way it's supposed to. And normally I'm really good about just pausing and stopping and okay, what is it? Let's regroup. And I recognized that I hadn't done that this time. I hadn't given myself an opportunity to pause and figure out, okay, what's the real issue here? And because I hadn't done that, as I started looking at my calendar and things I could move, it was easy to just go to those things that were personal, the things that mattered to me fundamentally, that helped me manage my peace, my joy, my excitement, right? That gave me energy. Those were the things that I was willing to compromise on. And so, because I caught myself, I said, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And so I ask you, as you're going through this end of the year and you start looking at your calendar and all the things you have that have to be done, right? School shopping. If your kids are going off to college, are you getting everything ready? What about their dorm? What about their roommate? What about the comforter? Are they doing matching stuff? I mean, all of the stuff that comes up on the list. Plus, if you got some kids at home and some kids going to college, how are you managing that? If it's now empty nest, how are you going to deal with that? Right? What about new people that are coming into the organization? Do you have something big happening at your organization? Is it going through mergers, acquisitions, divestitures, all the madness? Still trying to deal with people coming back to work, not coming back to work, in office, not in office, plus life stuff. Grocery shopping. Do I go? Do I do Instacart? Right? There's something all the time where we have to make a choice. And so, how are you ensuring that when you prioritize what is going to get done, what is going to get moved or modified, or what's just going to get taken off the list, right? Your stop, start, continue. How are you ensuring that all of the things that get stopped or pushed or modified aren't those things that bring you joy? Aren't the things that are important to your very soul? When I realized that what I was trying to do is figure out how to not do some things that I really wanted to do with people I love, it really made me stop and pause. It caught me off guard. Because one of the main reasons I started a business and got out of corporate was so I could go when I wanted to go, where I wanted to go, and be gone as long as I needed to be gone. I wanted to be able to spend time with my family and be remote enough, right? And technology driven enough that I can do from anywhere, work from anywhere, but also take time and be in control of that calendar to say, no, this is what I'm going to do and when I'm going to do it. For those of you who are still in corporate, that doesn't mean you can't do that. You absolutely can as well. They are absolutely paying you to do a job, but they are not paying for you to give your life to them. Your weekends are yours. Your evenings are yours. Your lunch breaks are yours. Your mornings are yours. How are you ensuring that you are not giving up absolutely everything that makes you incredible for someone else? That you're not giving up the things that ground you, the time with your family, the time with your friends, the time by yourself, that solo trip you've been wanting to take, that spa day, that girlfriend's weekend or guy's weekend. How are you ensuring that those things aren't the things that you start putting off or saying, it'll happen when it happens. I don't really have time for that. How are you making sure that you're not putting off the stuff that at the end you're going to be saying, man, I really regret that I didn't send that report in on time. Really? Is that what you're going to regret? Or are you going to regret missing the Christmas party? To this day, to this day, there are moments of time where it comes back and I get really, really upset with me because I missed the funeral of a dear friend of mine who I didn't even know was dying. She had reached out to me months and months and months ahead of time, probably a couple of years ahead of time. And I had not met with her because I was feeling down and uncomfortable and just head trash, right? And so I hadn't seen her for years. We'd stayed kind of in touch, but I hadn't seen her for years. And I had intended to go to her funeral. And we were in the midst of a divestiture. And I'd had a conversation with the CEO and they were looking for something. And I was trying to get it done and trying to be available in case they need me. And I'll be dadgum if they didn't go off to other meetings while I was sitting there and too late to get to the funeral on time. To this day, I regret that. And that's something I can't go undo. I can't replay that day. I can't redo that day and be there. It's done. It's gone. And I allowed an organization to be more important than friends and family. I allowed an organization to be more important to me than me. And when I look back at it, what I was really doing was trying to avoid a confrontation that I knew I just didn't want to deal with. Not that I was afraid of it. I just didn't want to have to deal with it. And an organization that I didn't trust behavior. And so if you weren't on top of some things, crazy stuff happened and you ended up having to redo things or undo things or having to fix stuff because one meeting happened and you weren't available. Just absolute madness. And yet I allowed the madness of that place to dictate my behavior and impact my connection to people that meant and mean a lot to me. And so as I looked at my calendar, as I say this to you guys, using my own personal story here, when we get overwhelmed and we have to start prioritizing what we're going to spend our energy on, be mindful of what you immediately go to take off your list. Is it stuff or people that actually at the end of the day, you're going to regret not doing or not seeing, not spending time with? Where is your joy? Where's your peace? What are the things that are truly in your root system that ground you, that you need to know and need to be able to rely upon? Where is that village that you need to make sure you stay connected to? And I say need intentionally, that you need to be connected to because it truly does ground you and lift you up and give you joy. When you are trying to reprioritize and figure out how you're going to deal with your time because time is not renewable and there's only so many hours in the day, are you immediately taking off or putting off or reframing stuff that you really need to have at the top of the list as opposed to the bottom of the list? Are you ensuring that you are on the top of your list, that you're putting your mask on first? For those of you who are in corporate and trying to decide, do I do my side hustle? Do I not? Do I stay? Do I not? Stay. If what you really want to do is there, stay. Or if what you really want to do is be in corporate, maybe not stay in that organization, but find one that's really much more aligned with what you want to do and where you want to go and how you want to be valued. But don't stay because you feel bad about leaving other people. Don't stay for someone else. Don't move things off for an organization, even your own business. Don't put off your life for something else. Figure out how to realign, to readjust the other things that are ways in which you like to show up, but ensure that you are continuing to fill your cup or put your mask on or give yourself time. All the cliches, but the cliches that say, in order for me to do what I've been put here to do, in order for me to fulfill the purpose that I have, in order for me to serve the way I want to serve in corporate, in my own business, in my organization, in my family, there are things that I need to do to ground myself, to feed my root system so that I can be strong and healthy and clear to show up the best way I can for those who need me and for those I want to be helpful to, that I want to serve. Don't think of it as a desire or a lack of intestinal fortitude or a lack of drive or you're not hustling enough or grinding enough. You're not focused enough. You're not enough. That's not what it's about. In fact, you are enough and you have everything that you need. And You are human and deserve to spend some time on yourself to be the best human you can be, the best human that you want to be, so that you can serve everybody else who is needing a little bit of piece of you. And in being really clear and comfortable and confident and rested and reinvigorated, you can discern those folks who are needing you because they truly need your service and are willing to do the work as well, and those folks who are using you. When we are tired and unclear, we don't often see the difference until it's too late. But when when we are grounded in who we are, when we are grounded in what we want and what it's really going to take to make that happen, it is so much easier to be discerning and be mindful and intentional about the energy we give and to whom we give it. So as you look at this end of July and going into the rest of the year and figuring out how you're going to show up for these last few months, how you're going to show up for your teams, your people, your family, your significant others, take a minute. Look at your calendar. What are you prioritizing? And make sure that at least a couple of those are all about you, so that then you can show up for everybody else. As always, thank you so much for tuning in to the Rutledge Perspective Podcast. I truly appreciate it. This African dust is killing me, so forgive me for all the clearing throat this time. I really do appreciate your tuning in and listening and being a part of my village. It matters to me. And I really hope that you get something out of the messages that I put out there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And be sure to catch me on the Rutledge Perspective radio show on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. Just did my last pop-up in New York, maybe one coming up in Atlanta. I don't know. We'll see. A pop-up radio show or podcast may be popping up there. So soon enough, I will be able to let you know. Catch me also on Fireside every second and fourth Thursday. I'm just now starting to ramp up again, so you won't see me every second and fourth, but really starting to ramp that up again. So I would appreciate you coming out there and hanging out with me on Fireside. Jump in the audience, ask some questions. It's going to be a great show when we're out there on Alignment Vision Action. So thank you. Thank you for being a part of my village, for tuning in, for spending your time with me. And we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. You have been listening to the Rutledge Perspective Podcast. Thank you so much for downloading and for connecting. You can find previous episodes of the podcast on my website at laurelrutledge.com/podcast. You can also find me on social media at Laurel K. Rutledge and/or The Rutledge Perspective. And I'd love your perspective on the things we talk about. And if there's a specific topic you want me to cover, just let me know. And please share this podcast with someone in your village who may need this little piece of perspective today. And if you're so inclined, I would really appreciate a 5-star rating and review on the platform of your choice. Apple Podcasts and Spotify reviews are particularly helpful. Thank you again for listening. Take care.